Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. We're here at the intersection of sport. When you look at Africa being positioned as one of the first and foremost players within the football and sports ecosystem. So we have AFCON 2025 coming up, and ultimately we have the FIFA World Cup in 2030. Amongst us, we have a series of panelists that have a deep and rich history in terms of club level ownership and management, from an organizational structure as well, and it's incredible to gain their insights into this sport through the lens of data, AI, and its impact on the game. So of course we have Amir here, who's representing Ahly as CEO. We have Kgosana here as GS of FIFPRO, and of course we have Gabriel, who is Director of Football Development for the Juventus Academy in Africa. So gentlemen, maybe we can kick things off quickly with a 1-minute insight into your first-hand experience of data, AI, and technology. So Amir, should we kick off with you? Can we switch on Amir's microphone, please?
Okay, nice to meet you all. From my perspective, when I came to Ahly 7 years ago, things were not so advanced regarding digital part, commercially and technically. So we found that improving these assets on digital platforms, at the same time also using it technically on the first team, it helped us a lot to reach the level that we are in now. Now in the last 7 years, we are 6 years Champions League finalists, with four Champions League winners, plus the Club World Cups, so it helped us a lot in this. So I think in the panel we're going to share a little bit some points about it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Kgosana, same question for you. Your initial interaction with technology, good or bad?
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us. I think it is twofold. On the one part, you can have club using technology to understand how the other team is playing. On the other, you can have players exploiting technology for commercial purposes. But where I think we draw some differences, whether with leagues or federations, is where the same data is managed for other things that could hurt the player's career, and that we will deal with as we move on.
I'm looking forward to unpacking the player's career life cycle as well. Gabriel, same question for you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Hi to my colleagues, Amir and Kgosana. Basically, I think it started with the COVID. During the pandemic, I think situation was difficult for families, for players, for kids, and technology was here to help us maintaining the players. So at this time, I think it was something, as we say, okay, it's not a barrier, this is a bridge. This is how we can link, we can connect also with the families and mainly with the players. So they have to register themselves, they have to send us some videos. We also had to do some videos for them, some clips. So this is something important. So it's really supported us. We had to track them using some tools, and this is something that during the period of 2020, especially from March 2020 until July of 2020, where all the training facilities, centers, all the grassroots level was closed in the country. So this was very helpful for us. Yeah, so that was the main start. Of course, we had the connection with the technology before, but from 2020, it was more technology in sports.
And I love how you connected the use of the family there, and obviously COVID was a huge driver, right, for implementing technology and impacting the sport overall. So, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't come to you first. I'd love to think that people are here for me, but ultimately they're here for you and for Juventus and for FIFPRO. And you sit at the precipice of one of the most exciting clubs in world football, I would say, not just Africa. So how are you utilizing data to impact player performance, player welfare, and everything in between?
Okay, so it began in a great way since 2018. Before, the club were using data, but a little bit in a simple way. And then we started using it in scouting, in the technical part, data analysis, and also for the coaching staff to have some sort of data to help to advance the team. So for the scouting, in the beginning, we were using like a single person that having the scouting for the teams and doing it the old way for the scouting with agents and these part of things. After this, we're using now 2 platforms with a big team of scouting, with head of scouting, and 3 of them also. All of them are using the data. Can I say the names of platforms or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, go for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but mainly Huddle. Huddle is one of them now. They're helping us a lot. Before it was Y-Scout. So it helped us a lot now. We just bought a new player he's a Slovenian who plays in Hungary. Okay, so from our perspective in Ahly, our market was always by getting players from North Africa and Africa. That's it. So to get a player, which is a young player, to bring there, for us, it's a success story. Okay, so regarding technical part also, the coaching stuff now, we have data analyst, and this guy, he's a Swiss one with our coach, and he's managing Egyptian team. That has 4 employees that are using data with him and also benefiting from him, from getting data about our opponents, our team, and individual players of our team. And the 4th one is to use data for our youth teams also. So our plan here now, that data is helping us in getting more information about our team and other teams, at the same time also educating our Egyptian employees that to know more and how to use these data to benefit the club. This is affecting us in a great way, to be honest, okay? But I think we still didn't go to the point that we want to reach, to the European level, in Tier 1 Europe, that we need to find a way to how to use the data to control the player's life, okay? Not to control it, but to know the players, how do they live outside. How can we know that each individual of the player, each one of them, what is benefiting him, okay? So even to try to dig in more, okay, in his psychological part. How does he sleep? How to prevent injury? So these kind of things we're trying to implement now, but to be honest, still take it step by step. But I hope that in the next period is going to be in our scope.
Yeah, that's incredible. So a Slovenian player based in Hungary, you said, right? So what part of that was technology and what part of that was also human, the eyes and the ears and so on and so forth?
The technology, as you know, we have the platform, you give a market, okay, several markets, you want to reach a certain kind of player in the markets. So in the beginning, as I told you, our scope was totally in Africa and North Africa. But now, from our side, now a player from Hungary, yes, it's a risk a little bit because, you know, different culture. So we have to find a way to also have the human part in it, because you're having a very good player, but when he comes to Cairo with a different mindset and different culture, you have to give him some people to help him in everything in order to understand how to deal and live in the country. So I think it's a mix and both between both of them.
Yeah, and before I bring Gabriel in on this as well, like a question from you, from the C-suite perspective, I feel your passion for data analytics, like how important is it for you as the leader of the organization to communicate like technology, your personal interest and belief in it, and is that felt throughout the organization?
No, I think yes, it's crucial for every one of us. You know, our chairman, our president of the club, he's an old guy, he's legend in Egypt. But in the beginning, when we spoke with him about this, little bit, he didn't understand what is the reason around. But when he sees all the results that's happening, technically in the sporting side, now I think he's getting more confident that this will help us a lot.
Well, Gabriel, I'm going to kick the ball over to you. I saw you smile when Amir was talking a little bit around different platforms, etc. Maybe you can give me an insight from a Juventus standpoint, like where does the culture of innovation, technology, data come from?
Well, I think it's there is 2 parts of it. You know, there is the technical side, but there is also the economic side. The economic side is very important to make a project sustainable in a long term. So in that sense, the innovation is part of the process all the time. In the headquarters in Turin, there is an innovation department, and this help all the time the club making new projects, going international, trying also to develop new ideas. This is the economic side, and if you want to continue into this industry, you have to be creative. You have to try and get as much as possible new ideas that can help and support the organization in the industry. Then from the technical side, of course, as Amir said, it's very important. From our side, we work on, well, I can say, the grassroots level. But nowadays, with the technology, the families, they want to know exactly what's happening on the field, how they, the kids are training, how are they doing. So you need to give them some key points that are objectives. And with the data, with the technology, you can get this. And this innovation, maybe on this side, is very important. I was meeting this morning one of the Moroccan brands that is trying now to implement their system of tracking GPS, but more adapted to the grassroots level. And I think this is a very good thing. It's a local and company from Morocco. So, yeah, that's basically how we see things. But as I said, you have to connect the economic and the sports. If you reach this with the innovation, with the data, you can get into the next level, the next stage. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the next stage, we've talked a lot about data, analytics, CEO culture, etc. Kgosana, you really, symbolically, you're sitting in between two clubs. And so I'm very interested to see your perspective on how is data being used from a player welfare, player workload perspective, because every day we open a website and there's another article around too much football being played, etc.
Look, I think at FIFPRO we have launched what we call a player workload monitoring platform. This is where we track a number of leagues around the world, the number of games that players play, the travel impact. Just for me coming from the southern part of Africa to here, I have to either go to Middle East or to Europe and then come back to Africa. You can imagine if this was happening to a club. I know Ahly will just charter a plane, they just land in the south. But there's a lot that goes into traveling. You can imagine after 2 days of travel, you get into a country, then following day you are playing a match. These are some of the risk factors that we track when we do load management of players. So, and broadly looking at it, it also borders on competition overlaps. It borders on new competition or new competition formats. You'll just be told that the competition is expanded to now have 24 teams. So this and many other factors around data management have forced us to move along the route of tracking these players. And at the same time, you'll have, say, players that are based in Africa, in small leagues, players that are based in Africa in big leagues, and players that are from Africa but playing in European leagues. And the interchanging of competitions, leaving one tournament to the next without the rest, off-season, limited time to rest, that creates a problem for players. And we think it has a huge impact on how the future of the product will look like.
And in terms of those conversations between FIFPRO and clubs and federations and competitions, where is the balance there between protecting the player and driving the commercial and economic objectives, do you think?
Look, research has shown us that players are becoming more popular than clubs. Let's look at the social media metrics. You'll find that a player will have a huge following because of the fan connection, because of the public appeal, more than the club. Now, what we want to emphasize is let's strike a balance between the commercial route, at the same time preserve the player that makes the tournament or that makes the football product more interesting. So if we are to look at the football competition metrics, we will then be informed to say we can still push the players, but maybe we need to change the format of how we structure our competitions. To this day, we every year when the AFCON is played, it is club versus country debate. It is a European League saying all our best players in Europe from Africa are going back to play that tournament. So it is at that level where we've got to strike a balance and agree as the social partners. The biggest problem that we face in football, especially on the part of competition organizers, is they have this tendency of shaving a man in his absence. How do you make a decision about Ahly in their absence? So we need to sit and exchange notes. And from our end, the only thing that we bring to the table is data that informs positions that we make when we sit for discussions around the welfare of players. And by the way, there is no football without a player. So the biggest product would come from the best managed players. So if we protect the players, if we give them the right load, we will get the best product and we will sell it.
Yeah, well, that was an excellent summary. You know, collaboration, making sure that all stakeholders at the table is key. Are there anything to add to what Kgosana has just mentioned?
Yes, no.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Gabriel, over to you. What's your take on looking at player workload from a very early level, right? So working with youth teams, et cetera, et cetera. Are you using data to assess player performance at that early stage?
Well, this depends because if you go under 12 years old, it's maybe too early to use this analytics to analyze the players. But as soon as you start the development phase, which is for me starting from 12, 13 years old up to 16, 17, I think this is a very important phase. And here you start using it. You know, it's very helpful in Africa because here in Africa we got a lot of talents. I mean, when you get around 1,000 kids and you have sometimes to take some decisions over technical staff, this is very, very helpful. Some insights that you will get from the technology that will give you and assist you to make the best decision. So yeah, that is the big part, in my opinion, starts from 12, 13 years old. And then in terms of barrier is here, I speak about the region because it's where we operate right now, is North Africa. Maybe we are not that much collaborative on this side, but starting, as I said, from COVID part, families, players, all people around, as I can say, the players, they started understanding what's the need and why we use it. So yeah, some of them, just a funny thing, first time they use GPS, said if they would order a pizza for them at the end of the session. So yeah, just a funny thing that happened at the start because they were not really used to see this kind of monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in this part also, one of our main challenges in Africa, that most of the clubs, they allocate all the budget to the first team. So all the technology they have, they just give it to the first team only. So they have to be smart enough to know that youth teams are the main asset the clubs has. The clubs, they always think they can give all the budget to the first team, and the youth teams, once they reach 17, 18 years old, they will start to give them all the budget for the technology and these kind of things, GPS or whatever. So I think what Gabriel is saying is so right, that the players has to know. They has to be mentally. They know, and they have to feel that this is going to help them to live as a football player from when he was young, to know how to use the GPS, to know how to be at home, how to sleep, how to have the nutritionist, how everything. This will help him at the end to be a football player, a professional player.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about a culture of adopting technology to impact player performance from that early age, right? So by the time they get to 17, 18, there is a huge asset there, right? That understands the conduct of being a football player. So with you, Gabriel, and the Juventus brand being as strong as it is, you know, if we were to look into a crystal ball, you know, what type of impact do you believe that a big brand like Juventus can have on African football and ultimately talent development?
I started operating in the region of Middle East and North Africa for now 15 years. So I was with another brand, and I saw the impact. The impact is mainly I can have different points. So there is a first one I see is the infrastructures. These brands are attractive for private equity. So now there is more infrastructures that can host this kind of programs. But this is also very helpful for local clubs. The local clubs, they can use these facilities. So the main example maybe in Morocco is Casablanca. Casablanca is now hosting different football complex that are really in high-level complex. With football, but not only football, other sports, and they connect different businesses. Second aspect maybe is training the trainers. There is licensing program, licenses for coaches. There's things happening with the African Confederation. But I think mixing this culture, mixing this education with also the knowledge from Juventus, I think it's also a good point for the coaches. They have the opportunity to do some coaches clinic in Turin, visiting the academy, the pro academy of the club. So I think that is a good impact. There is a lot of things that happens from the technical side. These exchanges with the headquarter in Torino, with the technical development and technical centers, is also something that had an impact. But then we should not forget the economic side. We had a stimulation the region where we operate. Nowadays in Morocco, we operate in Casablanca and in Rabat. There is 100 jobs in the company. So this is between human resources department, marketing, finances, also the technical side, and this is growing. It's kind of project that started with the 5 staff, but nowadays there is like 100 staff. This is the direct jobs, and then you got also other jobs connected to the club, to the academy. This is just one point because Casablanca, Rabat, and Morocco is just a part of the project. There is a big project of the club in the region, Middle East and North Africa. Right now, nowadays, it's 100 academy all around the world. But the impact in Africa, in Tunisia, is very good. Nigeria, also, the academy, they operate in a good way. And so the pillars are the economic side and the sports side, and you can see this stimulation for both parts.
And so, Kgosana, just going off the thread that Gabriel has just raised there around sort of football being used as a vehicle to stimulate the economy, right? To create jobs, to create an infrastructure, coaching and learning. Like from a FIFPRO standpoint, like how much of that do you consider when looking at the players' life cycle?
Look, football by nature is a very short career. So we've got to look at things from a player-centric point of view. What they do now, how they progress in the game, and how it will affect them going into the future. So the discussion is largely around welfare issues. How do we protect them to stay longer in the game? It is about the creation of the jobs. It's about the sustainability of the industry. So you should always be in a position to strike a balance between the output and how we manage the competition formats, the demands of the competition. And if you make it more sustainable, it means you'll have more players stay in the game. Others, we lose them because from our data mining, we are not cautious of injury prevention and stuff like that. So we've got to always constantly, and I think you will pick this during the course of my input, I'll always tie this to player welfare because that is what ultimately makes the product.
Okay, well, speaking of the player, a key part of that is obviously the fan. and we haven't spoken about that too much so far, but Amir, obviously we have a great platform in Ahly to ask you around, with the advent of social media, with there being increased analytics as well, how is Ahly using those platforms to connect with younger fans and also fans of all generations? And before you answer that, one interesting anecdote. So I've been in New York and seen someone with an Ahly top on. I've been in other parts of Europe, so in Spain recently, and I saw someone with an Ahly top on, and where I'm based in Dubai. And so the person in Dubai was actually an Ahly supporter, but interestingly, the other two were not. They just loved the brand, they loved the kit. And it was really interesting for me how a club from Egypt connected with someone in the US and in Europe, which I thought was pretty cool. So clearly you're doing something right. So I just wanted to give you a platform to be able to share, like, what is it that you're doing to engage fans across the spectrum?
Okay, regarding our social media, we have a huge social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, whatever, Snapchat also, it's everywhere. But I think one of our main successes that people are looking for Ahly is the international exposure we're getting now, playing the Club World Cup and the Champions League. So, and also we had some other projects that we're making now, regarding academies in Canada, in the US, always. At the same time also having deals with Panini, Red Bull, FIFA Collect, NFTs. So this kind of collaborations is helping us to have the international exposure. But one of our main projects that is coming in the next period, our app, okay? Our app mainly, all the clubs, they have their apps regarding content, news, some benefits regarding tickets with the players. But what we're trying to reach now, that giving our fans the full experience with Ahly. These fans can be especially in Egypt, of course, and they have some features that will help them. And also a loyalty program that will help all the fans globally to how to use the app and get more exposure about it with the online store, whatever. So one of our main features in the app that we want to give the fans the experience to be Ahlawi, to be always the Ahly. So Al-Ahly will be around them in their whole life. So other than the normal features that we're having a payment gateway through the app. So this app is going to be used to pay your gas bills, your water bills, your electricity bills as a fan. Of course, we're going to benefit from each transaction that happens to us. So we're going to create a good revenue from it, a huge revenue, to be honest, a huge one from it. At the same time, also the fans isn't going to be cost any extra amount. At the same time, also in the loyalty program, we'll give them like a discounts everywhere in Egypt and the Gulf mainly, Egypt, Saudi, Emirates, and Qatar, because Egyptians in these countries are a lot. We have more than 3 million Egyptians in these countries only, so it's a good population to use. So I think from our point of view, social media, yes, it helps us now a little bit, but we need to find better ways also to reach the people in the globe.
I mean, that's incredible. So you're talking about increasing the fan experience beyond the stadium, creating an app, giving fans the exposure to many different things within that platform, and that will be available both in Egypt and some of the other GCC markets, right, that you talked about. So how did that come about? Was that as a consequence of you working with your internal team? Was it something that the fans asked for? Like, that's a fascinating process, right, to go through. And also, when will this app launch?
From our side, Egypt, economically, we have some struggles in the last period, okay? So we need to find always a sort of revenue streams, which is different than normal thing. Because the match tickets, it's not giving us the revenue that we're aiming for. The sponsorships, it's giving us a good amount, but in pounds, not in dollars. So it's also some devaluation is happening in our currency. It's not helping us. So that's why we need to find something that is communicating directly the club with the fans, without any sponsors. So something that the fans are using it in their daily life. So that's why the payment gateway or something like this, fans will always pay their amounts, their bills, without any extra economical or something financial hectic about anything about them. So this was our idea. So we started to think with our team, and then we came up with this idea that we think it's going to help us a lot in the next period.
Okay, great. And it's launching soon?
I think end of 25.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good. Well, you heard it here first. It's exciting innovation. Gabriel, like any innovation coming from Juventus' side within sort of the app space, and also just before you answer that, like how often do you consider coaching the youth on the use of social media, right? Because we know now there's a lot of pressures. It can be used for good. Maybe it can be used for not so good as well. It'd be interesting to get your take on that.
Well, you know, there is the pathway to become a pro, and in this part you have a certain aspects that are around the football player or the ones that want to become a pro. So for this profile of players, of course, we give this guidance, how to speak to media, how to interact on the social networks, what are the products you can use that you don't use. So it's kind of education out of the field, and this education out of the field comes with the project of a player that want to be that want to go to the elite. I don't want to say all the players will arrive or reach the elite level, but I mean the ones that are in this process, the one that have the ability to maybe become a pro, they need this part, and this is very important. So the social networks nowadays is big part of our life. We spend a lot of time. How to protect the pressure, the players from pressure, especially under 16 years old, is part of job. So for this, we do some workshops with the players inside the academy. But at the same time, you have the other side is that the club also are launching some platforms, as said Amir, like for the fans, for engaging the fans. So yeah, you have apps, you have data, you have technology everywhere nowadays. You just need to know where is the limit. And for these kids, this is what we try to implement. This is what we try to explain all the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Amir, just back to you. So do you have direct relationships as a club with social media providers, so with the likes of Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, et cetera, How does that work?
Yeah, through our in-house team. We have an in-house team, media team. They are working with everyone in this part, yes.
Okay, very good.
This is a very exciting topic because what we've realized is that it comes with great benefits, but again, there are other risks around the use of the social media. So in appreciation of what clubs are doing, I think it's very important. We've entered that space as well, where we've got to teach players about the risks around excessive or abuse around the space. That's why during the World Cup in Qatar 2022, with FIFA and other entities, we worked on a model that was protecting players against abuse during the course of the tournament. This is to save them. And this is why it's very important for players to learn the good side of technology and the downside, because others may just be destroyed by bad usage of this tool, which can be, as I said earlier, be commercially viable for the benefit of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, a lot of people forget that we are essentially like the first generation that is working with data, that is working with analytics, that is working with AI, right? And so part of that is also building these platforms, building this regulation, this framework, this education to be able to help the player, to be able to help the club, to be able to help the regulators. And so sometimes I do feel that you know, we lose sight of that fact, right? And I think that's really important. But coming back to you, Kgosana, in terms of looking at the player and their data, right? How does FIFPRO look at that to ensure that data privacy is maintained, right? And that there's a balance there?
There is great use of modern technology, no doubt. But at the same time, we've got to strike a balance on the player privacy issue. We've had instances where there are dark agents in dark rooms who do data mining, just to say to Ahly, don't sign player A, sign player B, because player A, we've realized that his performance graph on the 70th minute, it goes down. So these are some of the unfair practices that we see from the dark side. But that aside, we want to strike a balance that will protect the players, especially during contract negotiations. There are patterns now that we hear of injury prediction, that this guy is injury prone, as such don't give him a long-term contract, just use him for this season and then. So these are some of the things that we constantly get to work on, especially to manage the player space.
And when you take a step back and you look at that type of approach, right, what is the approach or the appetite like when you're connecting with clubs and with the players directly in and around this?
Look, I think we can all agree that we are talking about human beings. That's the first thing. So it is my responsibility as a union representative. It is his responsibility as a club official to protect his players. So the collaboration between ourselves, the parents, the guidance also from the parents says we must all be jealous of protecting this player so that we can get the best out of them. So you've never seen a situation where others are saying, look, it doesn't concern me. I think all parties are working well within this space and gradually embracing technology because it is here to stay. And it looks like for future, a lot will be happening around this space. And all what we call for is, let's have regulations that will ensure good usage of this data as in the industry. Just to give you an example, there were about 8 million data points collected from the players, every player, during the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in New Zealand, and the World Cup, the Men's World Cup in Qatar. 8 million data points were collected. So this goes to show you data mining at a much more higher level, especially in the global space. So the other ones will be using this for maybe performance, maybe TV analysis. So we've got different stakeholders that have got appetite for data, but at the same time, it is about individuals. To what level do we go? To what level do we invade into their privacy space?
Yeah, I think it's very important what said Kgosana. So at the end of the day, it was just to connect. I mean, data is very important, but in football, I think that the other aspects, watching players directly, analyzing the matches with the knowledge of specialists, is still very important. I had a lunch today, the chance to meet with one of the big coaches in Morocco, and we're discussing about this point of data, and he says, okay, data, you need to take what is important. So if you take everything and you don't watch the games, then maybe you can have issues with recruitment, with results, with a lot of things. But so you have to balance things. You have to balance between the data, what it gives you, and then on the other side, you need to analyze the matches and have this knowledge as a professional coach. So yeah, very important. On the other side, maybe it's the same on the economic side. So sometimes it gives you a lot of informations, but then what's the treatment? What's the analysis? What's the, if you want to build a business, you just need to have these informations and then do a good treatment of these informations also, because it's a lot of information. So the right people will remain very important in this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, as we've said before, like the broader technology discussion is, will AI replace humans? And the answer is absolutely not, because nothing is ever a substitute for sentiment, gut feeling, you know, looking at a player with your eyes and feeling that atmosphere as well, right? No matter how much you commit towards that.
The football is not an exact science. So at the end of the day, this is why we love football. So you don't know the results. You can prepare your team, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, when they enter the field, the players are very important, and then they can give you the best game of the season, but it can be also the worst. So yeah, the data you have the analysis, you have the tools, you have the staff, but how you engage before. There's also these parts of people management, now that is becoming maybe more and more difficult. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap things up, as I know we're running close to time. So, Amir, if I was to ask you, if you look into your crystal ball, and we're sat here post the World Cup in Morocco, what are you hoping is the impact on football overall over the next 5 years for football in Africa in general?
No, I hope that Africa still, you know, when you watch the Champions League in Africa or even the AFCON sometimes, yes, it's becoming better in some editions. I think we need a lot of improvement. So I hope that the clubs, they know how to educate their employees, how they can use the younger generation in the management, because the old school in football is no longer there. So when you see any clubs in Europe or Latin America or Asia now, they are looking for data and science and how to improve it. So in Africa, I think we lack this in a great way. Regarding infrastructure also, the same, technical or even on ground. I think Africa still has a lot of the European level or the Asian level, but I know that Morocco now is having a great plan for this to improve the football in Morocco and Africa, and I hope also Egypt and all the other countries that have the base to build around this. I hope that they can help all Africa to reach the global level.
That's wonderful. Kgosana, you know, I've been walking around Rabat, and whilst it's been quite hot, I've been amazed by the number of football pitches and kids playing football. I mean, I come from like the likes of New York and London, where it's so rare to see a child with a ball underneath their hand and just enjoying the game. Same question for you. Post the World Cup, where do you read the status of the player in the future?
Look, whatever player gives us is as a result of the preparation that we do behind closed doors. I was lucky to visit the technical center in Morocco, state of the art. And I was looking at it and saying, if 50% of the countries in Africa could just do something similar, or maybe 50% of that, I think the growth of the game in the continent has great potential. Look at the number of exports we send to Europe. Not on account of anything, but because we don't have the means. In the past, or in the ongoing qualification, we have a lot of countries that are playing their home matches away from home. That talks to infrastructure development. So I think hosting this tournament here will give us an indication that Africa is capable. If we just need to up our game on the management side, on the governance of issues, on the development of the game as a whole, we would not be losing our best players to the top leagues around the world.
That's a great statement. And Gabriel, same question for you, but more so through the lens of youth development. So much happening here in Morocco and maybe broadly in Africa as well. What are we looking at in terms of the landscape post the World Cup?
I think Morocco has done a lot in the last 10 years, developing academies, developing center of excellence. Now there is a big challenge to make it happen for different clubs, the 16 clubs of the first division in Morocco, having their proper academies at a certain level. We have the academies, but we want to reach the next stage. I think the big challenge will be for the grassroots football, the number of players registered within the federation, having more data about players, maybe from 4 to 12 years old, players that start football, that are engaged in football, and then up to these 12 to 13 years old. Because if we have if we have a big base of players, we can produce high-level players. And this is one of challenge. We should not focus only on the pro parts of the game and not only the players that want to become professional, but we should also give the attention to the players that are really willing to enjoy, to play, to learn, because this is maybe the future. This is 2030. We see here the World Cup as one of the main, I would say, milestone. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. Grassroots football, take it to the next level. We have the infrastructure. Now we need maybe to work more on the other side, which is the human capital.
Okay, very good. Well, there you have it. We've had a unique insight from some of the most impactful people within the industry. Collectively, I think there's over 100 million followers on this panel between the clubs and FIFPRO. And one of the things that's a big takeaway here is that whilst you have technology and data and AI, human sentiment is still here, is still in play. And I think ultimately from a club perspective, how the C-suite and how executive leadership approaches innovation and technology will have just as much impact off the pitch as it will have on the pitch as well. So I'm looking forward to the future. And what's great is that we managed to do this entire panel discussion without referring to ChatGPT even once, which just goes to show just how much talent we have in the region. Thank you so much to our panelists and to our audience as well. Thank you.